Worse, they had outmaneuvered him, cutting off every twist and turn, seeming to anticipate every feint and stratagem he had dredged up from his long career in the Space Corps. The Rutan leader was an expert. Linx knew the difficulty of holding a squadron in combat formation. But all through the long chase, the 9 pursuit ships had maintained their perfect parabola, never varying by a single degree, never offering the faintest hope of breaking past them. Linx had waited. His ship matched the fighters in speed. They had no chance of coming within torpedo range. Normally, in such a situation, the pursuing force eventually broke off the chase. In 3 galactic wars against the Rutans, as each side developed increasingly sophisticated sensors, Linx had grown accustomed to these inconclusive encounters. Not so apparently in the Rutan leader's case. He held on with dogged persistency, forcing Linx's cruiser inexorably further and further out from the center of the galaxy. They were already among the fringe systems when Linx, with chilled respect, suddenly appreciated the depths of the Rutan's strategy. Saw how long ago the plan had formulated. Soon he would be driven out even beyond the fringes of the galaxy, out into the deep space of the intergalactic wastes, out into the terrible regions where even light itself faded and died. The vortex. The great ebb. They would finish him there. That was the chosen killing ground. And the Rutan leader had seen it all in the first flashing instant of contact, seen his opening in the very second that Linx turned for home, seen, 1,000 parsecs away, the inevitable end. As his starship plunged into the great ebb and lost way, the Rutan fighters would stand off at a safe distance and launch their torpedoes. There could be no escape. Then his sensors detected the asteroid belt. Unchartable as icebergs, drifting forever through the dark interstellar void, the asteroids formed a ragged arc millions of miles across. Some, Linx knew, would be vast mountains of rock and iron and ice. Others were probably no bigger than a single grain of sand. He sat now at the control module and watched his detector screens. Nothing showed. Perhaps nothing would. With the cruiser in spectronic drive, the scanners would barely pick up an approaching image before impact. At that speed, even a single grain of sand striking the hull would have the effect of a fission shell. The cruiser would simply vanish. Linx himself, the heavy bones, the flat, powerful muscles, the leathery, hairless epidermis, the calculating brain, all that was Jingo Linx, commander in the Sontaran Space Corps, would cease to exist. Instead, a million tiny globules of organic matter would be left floating like a giant puffball in space. A microsecond from obliteration. Linx moved his hand again. The blood-stirring, ineffably sweet strains of the Sontaran anthem pulsed through the ship. Linx never took his eyes off the screens. Little red eyes that were like firelit caves under the great green-brown dome of a skull. But he felt a thrill of pride run through his body. He was a Sontaran, and he was dying as a Sontaran should, throwing a challenge to the Rutans. They would not follow him into the asteroid belt.